how's it going? Happy Wednesday, or whatever day it is that you might be watching this on the replay. Hi, Holly, I see you. And is it Key? Let me know in the comments how you pronounce your name. I see Key, I believe it is, and Holly on the call. All right, so we are here today as part of our monthly masterclass for the Empowered You community. And I'm excited today because I'm going to be sharing 3 tips on how to manage stress, using some mindfulness and some NLP, which we'll talk about in just a second. But this time of year can be extremely stressful, right? And these are tips that you can not only use today, not only use right now, but you can also use anytime you're starting to feel stressed or overwhelmed. So to get started, I'm going to invite you to come into this space right now. So what does that mean? That means turn off any other browsers you might have open on your laptop, or if you're on your phone, like turn everything off. Give yourself some space. You might want to grab a notebook to take some notes, but just really come and give yourself this opportunity to work on you, to learn more about you, because that's what we're going to be doing today. But let me ask you a couple of questions before we get started. This is a two-way conversation. This isn't just me speaking at you. If you know me at all, or if you've been on any of my masterclasses or workshops before, I highly encourage conversation and discussion. So if anything comes up for you that you're like, I want some more clarity on, or you're confused about, or just something that comes up out of what we start talking about, let me know, whether that's an aha moment, like, oh my goodness, I had never thought of that before. Or even if it's like, I've heard that before, but thank you so much for the reminder. Or if it's something brand new and you figured out how you're going to implement it into your life starting today, because it's all about what we do today. All right, so with all of that said, let me ask you a couple questions. So number 1, how would you like to learn how to practice mindfulness to take control of your life? And when I say mindfulness, I know we're going to talk about this, but there's this concept of you have to sit in the lotus position on the floor in this perfect space all by yourself, away from the world. That is not how you practice mindfulness. That is not what mindfulness is about at all. So we're going to debunk that myth right now. So you guys ready to learn that? All right. How about this as well? What if you knew exactly what to do to overcome stress? Wouldn't that be pretty cool? Let me know in the comments if that would be pretty cool. If you guys are psyched to learn about how to practice mindfulness and not the, lotus position idea, but another kind of viewpoint of mindfulness. And if you're ready to learn some tips on how to overcome stress, would you like to be the master, right? The controller of your life? If that is you, let me know down below in the comments, whether you're on live or on the replay, because I know a lot of people get to watch this on the replay. And so we want to make sure that you guys are engaged as well. So don't just think that I'm not watching you, because I am. All right. So for those of you that don't know me, if you're new, hi, I'm Danny. This is a little bit about me. I have a degree in psychology. I was in the corporate world for about 18 years before I decided to jump that ship and move on and open and start my own consulting and coaching business, which is what I get to do now. So I did hold a lot of positions in corporate, in management and leadership. I was also in training and development. So I got to work for a great company and teach a lot of people about service. And as I was doing that, I realized that was great, but these skills that I have learned and this information that I know really needs to get out to the masses, to everyone, right? We were so great to be in this nice little bubble within the company, but I realized that there was so much more about learning about people. I've always been fascinated about the mind and relationships and how people work. And so that is what's caused me to step into what I do today, which is what I absolutely love. So I am a master life coach, master executive coach, hypnotherapist, and master NLP practitioner. So I've got a lot of tools in my tool belt, and so I would love to share with some of those with you today. So that's a little bit about my education, about what I've done, my experience. But let me tell you a little bit more about the fun side of me. So a little bit more about me, you can see in the teal and pink. I'm a singer. I've been singing. I was a professional singer for a while, from about 18 till about 30-ish or so, a little bit later than that. I sang professionally at weddings, quinceañeras, baptism, in church. It was absolutely fun. Today, my love and I have our own little band, and we get to sing our own original songs, as well as covers that we like to flip a little bit. So you can catch us at some open mic nights locally here in Southern California. I'm also a nature lover. We love to spend time in nature, whether that's at the park, at the beach, in the desert. We just visited Sedona, Arizona this past week for the holiday and had a fabulous time on the trails and just the beauty of the red rocks and of Arizona in general, and all the beautiful energy that is out there in Sedona. As I mentioned, my love, we have been together almost 6 years. And so we are absolutely loving the adventure that we are on together. He is not only my partner in life, but also in business. And he is on his way out back to work from lunch. So bye, baby. All right. I'm absolutely love to read as well. It's another fun fact about me. You can generally find, you're also a nature lover. Yay! I love nature lovers too. I love to be anywhere. I don't know. Even last night we went to the park and I had to spend some time on the ground, just kind of grounding myself. It was great. But yeah, I love to read. So currently reading a book called Captivate. If you guys haven't read that, it's a fabulous book. It's by Miss Vanessa Van Edwards. She's fun. The book is about the science of succeeding with people. So she gives a lot of really good tips about how to work with people and how to be like a really good networker too. So if that's your thing, highly recommend the book. All right, so, Yosemite is beautiful. We went a couple years ago during summer and loved it. It was so beautiful. All right, wait, let me fix that because that's that was crazy. My computer went out of control for a second, so sorry. Okay, so in a minute I am going to shut my video camera off, but I wanted you guys to see me, that I am a real person. I am live. It is Wednesday. This isn't a recording. But I, just like you, will get distracted if I see myself too much on the screen. So I'm going to shut myself off in just a minute so that we can really focus in on this content, because I think it's great. And it's easier for me to manage like less things. So I hope you're cool with that. I'll come back on in at the end so you guys can see my face again. Know that I'm still here. But even though you can't see my face, doesn't mean you can't talk to me. So keep talking to me. I love the comments. All right, so let's dive into today's content, because we're going to go till about 1:30, maybe even sooner, depending on how much I can get through this content. I value your time, so I don't want to keep you past that. So I'm going to go as much as I can up till 1:30. So if you have any questions, please fill them in. If I can't answer them during that time frame, I might say a couple minutes if you're willing to. If not, then I will email them out with the replay. So if you registered through Eventbrite, you'll get the replay of this, which is awesome. So you can, dive back into this. I think you might want to, because there's an activity we're going to do at the end that you'll probably want to come back in and do. And I'll also be sending a bonus gratitude meditation download. So if you are interested in getting that, make sure that you have registered through Eventbrite. If you didn't, if you're catching this later on, just email me or message me and I will get it sent to you. All right? Yay. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on. Much better. Now I'm going to shut my camera off. Okay, so let's talk about stress. Stress kind of has a bad rap, right? But believe it or not, stress is actually a good thing. Yes, it is. It is a good thing. I said it. I'm going against popular belief. Stress is a good thing. Here's why. Stress motivates us to do the things that we need to do. Think about it for a second. Think of that last minute project that you were working on that you needed to get done. Stress most likely is what pushed you into action, right? Or maybe even a situation where you were in this fight or flight, like this duck that loves to come towards me angrily. The other day we were at the park. I was with a pug and we were walking, and this duck decided that he wanted to stand his ground with me. And so he started running towards me and, aggressively, which was insane. They normally just mind their own business and walk away, but not this one. He wanted to bite me. So he came at me, and I immediately got, I got kind of freaked out. That was stress, right? I put my body into this fight or flight type of situation, right? So I flew, just so you know. I got out of there. There's a bird coming at me. I'm sorry. The bird's gonna win. The bird's definitely gonna win. So I went the other way. I turned around, took the pug, and we walked to the other way. But this type of stress is actually good for us because we need it to activate within us so that we can get out of the way, right? If I wasn't put in that situation where this duck was coming at me and I didn't have this, stress kick in, right? This fight or flight response kick in, well, what's going to happen? I could potentially get bit by this duck, right? I need that to happen. Or sometimes I need for that stress to kick in when I have that last minute, project that I need to get done. I need to kick myself into gear so that I can complete it on time, right? So this type of stress really is good for us. It increases our blood flow, it ignites our neurons, it puts us into action. So stress can be a good thing. So when we think about stress, we don't want to completely get rid of it, right? And what I want to challenge you to think about today is, how can we embrace stress, right? How can we look at stress and say, okay, I know I need you because you're going to help me get into action. You're going to help me get out of a potential dangerous situation. So yes, I want you in my life. However, there's the other kind of stress that we create. That stress, we need to say, okay, I want to manage you. I want to learn how to handle you so that you are not controlling me. Oftentimes, our stress overpowers us. It takes control, and then we're kind of sitting there like, oops, what just happened, right? The stress came up and took control. So we want to take back that control, right? Are you guys down to take back that control and say no to the bad stress and yes to the good stress? If so, let me know. Let me know in the comments. Okay, so we create this stress that is not good for us, right? So that's the stress that causes our inability to concentrate. It might even cause our body to ache. It might make us sick more often. We might even get headaches or even get into those negative emotions, anger, anxiety, frustration, overwhelm, depression, right? All of those come out of our inability to be able to manage, to handle our own stress, the stress that we create. So, you guys ready for our first exercise? I want you to think for a moment. So if you have a piece of paper or a notebook handy, that would be ideal. Grab that, grab a pen or a pencil, and I'm going to ask you, what stresses you out? Take a moment right now and think about the situations or activities that stress you out. Or even, what is stressing you right now? What is that thing that is stressing you out? Write that down. Just take a moment right now. Whatever comes to your mind now, allow that to come and just write it down. You don't have to think about it too hard. Just whatever's coming to you now. It might be the anticipation of something. It might be all the things on your to-do list. Or maybe that visit with your family you're going to have, or that conversation you're going to have with somebody. It might be that your kids are not doing what you ask. That can stress you out. Or maybe even the news. I know the news used to stress me out a lot. Just write down what is stressing you out right now. I'm going to give you 30 more seconds. Perfect. So now what I want you to do is take a look at what you wrote down. You may have a couple of things written down. You may just have one thing. You may have tons of things. Whatever it is perfectly right. I want you to look at it, and I want you to circle the situations or activities that are anticipation of something, that are an anticipation. Wow, that was a tongue twister, of something. These activities that might be future focused. So they might be something that's hasn't happened, but it could happen or might happen. For example, you might be stressing out about something you're supposed to do. Or you might be stressing out about a conversation that you're going to have, or maybe even an event that you're going to go to. You see, these quite haven't happened yet, right? If we look at in comparison, I might be stressed out because I found something out about the 13-year-old, something she did, right? And so I might be stressed out about it because she did something, right? That's different than me anticipating that she might do something, right? That stress is a little bit different. So go ahead and circle any of the situations or activities that are stressing you out that are kind of more anticipation of or future focused. I'll give you about 30 seconds to do that. If you're not sure, go ahead and put it in the comments, or if you feel compelled to, let us know what your thing or two might be that is stressing you out. I'm pretty sure there's common ones out there. I'm pretty sure you're not alone. So you might have noticed already that oftentimes our stress or even anxiety occurs when we get caught up in our own mind about something that has not happened. We're taken out of our present moment, the now, and are thinking about the what ifs. Have you ever done that? Where you get caught up in the what if? What if this happens? What if that happens? I used to always think of the worst case scenario being the only scenario. Have you ever done that? One day, there was a team work event back when I was in corporate. And it was this event that I had to go to. At the time, I was in the very early beginnings of discovering more about myself, discovering the things that I did that I didn't really like about myself, the things that other people were doing. And it was as if I was seeing all these masks that people were wearing and that I was even wearing. And I thought it was like, I didn't want to be around these environments that much anymore. It was just like, they were like, it was my work people, it was my work friends, it was my team. But yet I really didn't want to be around them anymore because I just felt fake and phony. And I didn't like that feeling at all. And so I didn't want to be in these environments, especially the negative ones, right? And this kind of environment was going to be just that. And I didn't want to go, but I had to go, right? This was a team work thing. Like I had to go. My boss had scheduled this event for us. She had actually bought us tickets. She had paid for it all. And so there really was no reason for me not to go besides me just not wanting to go, right? But I had to go. In my mind, there was no excuse that I could come up with that would be right. So I'm like mulling over in my head. I'm literally in my car. I'm so frustrated. I'm so stressed out because I don't want to go to this event. I don't want to do it. But I knew I had to, right? And so my love, as brilliant as he is, and the partner that I could have never have asked for a better partner, let me tell you, he says to me, he always asks these simple little questions, right? And he said, Danny, what's the worst that could happen? And immediately I yelled out, she'll fire me, right? Like she will fire me. If I don't go, I'm done. Like she'll fire me. That's it. It's over. Now, he looked at me and he's like, she will fire you for not going to a work event? I'm like, yes, right? No, like you don't get it. And I argued with him for, wow, a good 20, 30 minutes about how I had to go, right? Consciously, I knew she couldn't really fire me. Like this wasn't work time. This was outside of work time. So she couldn't fire me for not going. But in that moment, it felt like she could. It felt like that was the only thing. There was nothing else. I made up this huge story in my head all about how she was going to fire me. Like, this is how it's going to, I even like broke it down for him. This is going to happen, and this is going to happen. Like I knew I had made up this whole story. Am I the only one that does this? If you can relate, let me know, because I feel like this happens to us, right? That we conjure up these stories, these what ifs, these worst case scenarios, and we believe them to be truth, to be the only thing. This scenario stressed me out so much. I literally got sick. I went to the event because I had to. I felt horrible, right? Because my body was in such turmoil. I ended up leaving early, sick, and was sick on my couch for the next 3 days. This is what stress can do to us. And this is also when I discovered what mindfulness was all about, and the teachings that I was learning from NLP was all about. I started to see how this scenario and others just like it, I was creating in my mind. And I could absolutely gain control of it and construct something different. So let's talk about mindfulness and how we can use it, because I think there's misconceptions about what mindfulness is, and I want to tell you what it actually is so you can benefit from it. So mindfulness is all about cultivating awareness. It is not sitting in lotus position. It is not meditating all day. It is not staying away from society. It's not any of the other things that you might have heard. It is becoming consciously aware of what is happening in each and every moment. Mindfulness is about becoming aware of your thoughts, not having no thoughts. A lot of the times people think it's about calming the thoughts, stopping the thoughts. It's actually not. It's becoming aware of the thought, of why you even had that thought, or even just noticing that there was a thought, noticing that there was an action, noticing what is causing things to happen. Mindfulness helps us get out of autopilot. Have you ever been sitting at your desk, maybe even in a meeting, or even driving your car, and all of a sudden you realize, where has the past 5, 10, 15 minutes gone? That is autopilot. When we check out, so to speak, from the world, unconsciously. Now there's conscious checking out, where I will consciously daydream. I will consciously go into my imagination. But it's when we get to the end of our day and we have no idea what's been going on, that is autopilot. I lived in autopilot for many years. If you know anything about my story, I was in a 10-year relationship that was not a good relationship. And those 10 years, I was on autopilot. I was going through the motions. I was doing what I thought everybody thought I should do. I was living a life that was not mine. I was definitely in the back seat of my life, just taking in the view. But mindfulness, that allows us to be in control of our life, in control of what we want to create. Mindfulness is actually a natural state. And when I say state, you can also refer to that as a feeling, an emotion. And we can tend to get caught up in this busyness of what we think life is supposed to be, or what we think others want it to be for us, that we get so caught up. Even this time of year, right? Right now we're at the end of 2018 and it's the holidays, and there's this idea of it's the hustle and bustle, right? It's the constant go, go, go. It's the overwhelm, right? It doesn't have to be that way. But we have this society that believes it should be that way. But we know better than that, don't we? It's funny. I was talking with a friend of mine just the other day, actually, and she was telling me about her cousin. And we were having this conversation about busyness and, making excuses and not having enough time for things. And, she told me, she's like, my cousin is so busy and I really, really want to hang out with her more, but because this is a relationship that she values and she believes is a good person to be in her life. And so she wants to hang out with her, but she's always so busy. And so I said, well, did you tell her? And she's like, I did. I told her that I wanted to hang out with her more, but I knew that she was so busy. So to let me know when things slowed down for her. she told me that her cousin was shocked. Her cousin didn't even realize that she was portraying this busy life, and that the things that were important to her were slipping by. When she thought about it, she really wasn't as busy as she had made her life out to be. Because what she valued most was connection, was connecting with her family and her friends. And when she realized she had done this to her cousin, she thought, who else am I doing this to? It's interesting to learn that we don't have to subscribe to what everyone else is doing. We can choose a different path, and we can be in the driver's seat of our life. All right, so you ready to learn these 3 ways to overcome stress? Now that we have this idea of we want to learn to manage it, not necessarily get rid of it, but we want to learn to take control of it. And we can use the practice of mindfulness. So, number 1, identify your triggers pattern or your trigger pattern. So, earlier we mentioned some situations that may cause us stress, right? What we want to do is we want to identify what happens right before we go into stress. Because everything we do has a pattern or has a strategy. The way we buy things, there's a strategy. The way we are motivated to do something, there's a strategy. The way we learn, we have a learning strategy. Everything that we do, even love has its own strategy, which is absolutely amazing. And when we learn what that pattern is or what that strategy of things that we do, when it's not serving us, we can learn to tweak it. So for example, with stress, we can learn what sets off that pattern of stress for us. So we need to identify what that trigger might be, what that first thing is that might happen. Let me give you an example of something that is personal for me. My love, his mom, I love her. She's a wonderful woman, very caring, very giving, but sometimes she can be a little negative. Well, really negative, to be honest. She's just, that's her frame for the world. She sees it from a very negative standpoint. I am the complete opposite. I'm a very positive and optimistic person. So sometimes we can clash, right? So I was like, okay, what is it that is stressing me out when I'm around her? Because I started to notice that I would get stressed when she was around. And I didn't know why. I'm like, why am I feeling this way? Which is this practice of mindfulness, right? Becoming aware of my feelings. So I'm like, okay, so it's her being around me somehow. So I looked at it and said, what is my trigger? What is triggering me to go into this pattern or this strategy that puts me into stress? So I looked at it, and what it actually was something like this. First, I hear her say something negative. I immediately get a picture in my head of a big fat face pointing a finger at me. It's like, right? That's what I see. And then I get this uneasy feeling in my stomach. The frustration starts to rise, and bam, I'm triggered. So knowing that my trigger starts with her saying something negative, I know that I can stop that. I can stop that cycle, and I can create something else, something that I do want to happen. So guys want to learn how I did this? This one's pretty fun, actually. So what I did was, now, here's the thing. With anything, we want to make it so that it is empowering us. And it is putting us where we want to be, in a place where we want to be, in a state or feeling that we want. So I don't want to go off on her. I don't want to be in an angry, negative emotion. I don't also want to, just chop off, what she said and just, leave it alone either, right? I got to find a way that is going to be empowering for me and for the situation. So what I did was, now I know what my pattern is, right? So first I hear her say something negative. I get that image in my head of the fat face pointing at me. And it's like this mean, angry face. It's like, it's not even like a nice, fun face. It's like a mean face, which is what frustrates me, which is what causes that uneasiness in my stomach, because it's like, I feel like an authority figure, so to speak. It's like, in my head. And so then I get that frustration. So what I did was, as soon as that, I can't change her saying something negative. So I couldn't do that, right? So what was the next step in that? The next step was that picture that I had in my head. So when I hear her say something negative, I get this picture. What I did was I changed that picture to be different. That image in my head is now a curious face. It's somebody it's still a big, huge face, but the person is like, they have their finger, like on their chin, and they're just kind of like looking like, it's kind of like that curiousness, right? And then I think, wow, man, what has happened in her life to make her feel that negative? And how her view of life can be so negative. When I do this, this gives me this feeling of curiosity and empathy. Now, I would much rather come from a place of curiosity and empathy than a place of anger and frustration and stress. So, identify what your trigger is. What sets off? I want you to take a look. Whoops, I keep skipping ahead. I wanted you to take a look at your list of things that you wrote down earlier. Look at one of them. Just pick one of them. One of those triggers or one of those stress activities or situation. And I want you to think back to that situation. What happened right before you started to get stressed? Just like with me, it was that I heard her say something negative. And that immediately pushed me into this cycle of things, right? The picture, then the feeling in the stomach, and then this rise of frustration throughout my body. So what sets you off? In that particular situation, even if it's something that you're experiencing now that you're stressed about, what is it? What's the first thing? Might be something you see, something you hear, something you touch, something that generally comes in from our 5 senses. It might even be something that you think. Try to go back to that moment that is right before you started to feel stressed. Once you have that, you can now look at that and say, what do I want instead? What do I want to happen instead? Like in my case, I changed that picture to a picture of curiosity, which then changed how I felt in my body, which was the next thing that happened naturally. And then I could respond differently. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move on to number 2 because I want to make sure we get time for number 3. So number 2 is know your outcome. So earlier I mentioned that sometimes we can have these stressful activities or situations that are related to future focused activities, things that haven't happened. They're the anticipation of. Now, knowing your outcome is something that I learned from Tony Robbins and Bob Proctor. They're both very, very focused on knowing what is your outcome. Like, what do you want to happen? Where is it that you're going? Now, how does this relate to stress? Let me give you an example. Let's say there is a gathering or event that you might be attending, maybe even in the coming months, maybe even this next month. Just thinking about it is starting to stress you out. First, acknowledge, here's your mindfulness piece, become aware that this is a future-focused thought, that this is an anticipation of, right? It hasn't happened, so we really don't know what the outcome is. We don't know what's going to happen. So we're aware, this mindful piece, right, that we are thinking about this thing, and then ask yourself, what do you want instead? What do you want to happen? And sometimes this can be difficult because all we can focus on is the what ifs, right? But what if all those were gone and you had your ideal outcome? Well, here's what happens. When you start to think about what you do want, it's interesting. You immediately start to shift and your thinking starts to focus and change into possibilities. Possibilities start to enter. Now, where we're coming from a state of possibility, that stress level comes down. We're not worried about it anymore because there's possibilities. There's other things. And knowing what our outcome is, we're more likely to achieve it. This is shifting your attention. It shifts your attention into what you do want, which helps you attract what it is you actually want. If you were here last month, you heard me talking about attracting more abundance, right? And it starts with having that crystal clear picture of what it is that you want. So know your outcome. Know what it is that you do want. Oftentimes we don't ask what we want. We just assume this is what's going to happen, or we come up with all these other possibilities. And we don't really focus in on what it is we do want. I have to do this with a 13-year-old all the time and ask her, well, what do you want to happen, right? And she constantly gives me the what ifs. And it's like, no, what is it that you want to happen? Not what you think's going to happen. What do you actually want, right? Focusing that in. So ask yourself, what do you want? And then, how can I create it? Ugh, such a beautiful question. How can I create it? Once I know what I want, how can I create it in this moment? So let's say you're feeling really busy. You have a lot going on and you're like, there's so much going on. I don't know what to do. So ask, okay, what is it that you do want? Well, I want to have more time to read. Maybe you want to read more. So you say, okay, my outcome is I want to read more. And then ask yourself, how can I create it? Your beautiful subconscious mind will give you all these ideas on what it is. And if there's any idea that is like a, no, you can't do that, immediately shut that out and say, nope, what else? And allow yourself to come up with as many possible ideas as you can. The more and more you do this, the more and more you're going to train your mind to get rid of those negative ones and just come up with all these positive possibilities. And don't be surprised if something interesting comes out of your responses. All right, so number 3, my favorite, ignite your anchor. So anchors. Anchors is something that I learned in NLP. It's also a great combination of mindfulness as well because we're kind of bringing in the awareness as well. So anchors are something that we do all the time. For example, you might be putting out, like if you go to an event and you see chairs, you immediately think like, oh, we're going to sit down, right? You might even go and sit down. If you think of the movie theater, if you've been to the movies, I haven't been in a while, but if you've been to the movies and the lights start to dim, actually, I just went to the theater. I went to go see, I've totally forgot. It was at the Pantages, A Bronx Tale. There we go. I went to go see A Bronx Tale, and I haven't been to the theater in a very, very long time. But the lights started dimming, like they went on and off, not dim, they went on and off. And immediately I was like, oh, we better take our seat. The show's about to start. That's an anchor. That immediately was like, oh, I know what I'm supposed to do, right? When you walk into a library, right, you immediately know, like, it's a hushed tone. We talk really quietly in the library, right? We learned this as kids, right? These things happen all the time. You're constantly anchoring different things, good and bad anchors, as a matter of fact. But I want to teach you today is a good anchor. and what this is this anchor is going to immediately put you in a state that you might want, that you want to be in. So what we're going to do is we're going to do what's called a champion state, where we pack 3 different anchors on top of each other when we are feeling stressed, right? So this might be, we might start to feel stressed because, I don't know, something's happening, right? Or we're anticipating something, or something just happened and we're feeling that stress. So the other 2, maybe we don't have time to do those right now, but we need to do this, right? We need to get out of this right now. We can set off our anchor, we can ignite it, and just get into this feeling, this state that we're going to build in just a second. So let's go ahead and do it. I was looking at the time and I'm like, we got a couple minutes. So I might go a couple minutes over. I hope that's okay. If you have to get off, I completely understand. I apologize for having to go a little bit longer. So if you do have to step off, I apologize. I understand, but you will get the replay, so you will get this. And if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. All right, so we're gonna build what's called a champion state for stress. Now, for me, what I think is 3 feelings that I would want to have when I'm starting to feel stressed is, for one, calm. I want to feel calm, right? I don't want to feel stressed. I don't want to feel this overwhelm. I want to feel nice and calm. So number 1 is we're going to use calm. Number 2 is curiosity. Now, I'm a big user of curiosity. As you can tell, I used curiosity earlier with the example I did with the first one, with identifying my triggers and my love's mom, right? Curiosity, I think, is such a powerful state, because when we can come from a place of curiosity, it puts us out of what we think is going to happen or what could happen. And it puts us into this, what might happen, right? It's a different feeling than this is going to happen than what might happen, which is, if you think about it, when my love asked me that question when with my team event that I was supposed to go to, right? And I thought my boss was going to fire me. If I would have been able to get into curiosity, which is kind of what he made me do, I could see other possibilities. I could see other outcomes. Although in that moment, I was not. But if I look back, I can be like, that would have been a really powerful state for me to have in that moment, to be like, right? And take a step back and kind of out of the situation. And then the third one, not because I wanted to keep it all C's, but was confident. Because wouldn't you want to feel confident that you can accomplish whatever it is that you want to do? Whether it is in anticipation of something that could happen, but you want to feel confident that you can handle it, that you can get through it, right? That you will be able to. Wouldn't you like to have that feeling? So can you imagine what it would feel like to have calm, curiosity, and confidence all rolled into one in a heartbeat. Wouldn't that be pretty cool? Okay, so we're going to do that right now. So what I'm going to ask you to do in just a moment is I want you to think about a time when you felt calm. So go ahead and think of that now, a time when you felt calm. It might be recently, it might be a long time ago, or even if you've never experienced calm, it might be maybe what you think it would be like. Or maybe you know somebody who is calm, very calm, and you're like, oh, okay, it's like that. Okay, got it? Perfect. Now think of a time when you were curious, when you were very curious. This might be a time when you were a kid around Christmas. This might be recently. Maybe you were curious about learning something. Might be when you saw this masterclass and you're like, ooh, you might have been curious about what I was going to share today. Or even when I talked about anchoring just a moment ago, right? Whenever you were feeling curious, go ahead and go to that situation for just a second right now. Just kind of remember it. That's it. Just think of a time. Pretty simple. Perfect. And then finally, think of a time when you were confident, when you felt absolutely confident. And this, again, a time, it doesn't have to be necessarily recently. It could be when you were a kid. It could be 5 years ago, whenever you felt really confident. And go to a specific moment. Some people say, I've never felt confident. And I say, well, can you tie your shoes? Feel pretty confident about tying your shoes, don't you, right? So even if it might be that, maybe that's what it is. A time when you were absolutely confident. Awesome. So what we're going to do in a moment is I'm going to kind of walk you through this guided visualization process. And I'm going to ask you to get into a comfortable position. I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. So if you can do that, that's great. If you need to move to a position, go ahead and do that now. And I'm going to ask you to recall these 3 positive memories that we kind of just explored, just touched on for a second, where you felt calm, curious, and confident. So 3 separate positive memories. And I'm going to ask you to step into each scenario one at a time. And I'm going to ask you, when you step into these situations, to press your thumb and your index finger together. And that's it. And you're just going to hold it for a few seconds, maybe 2-3 seconds, and then you're just going to release it. And you want to do that at the peak of when you are feeling that. Okay? So, and don't worry if you're not quite sure right now, just I'll walk you through it, no worries. All right, so let's go ahead and get into a comfortable position. I'm going to ask you to close your eyes and just take a deep breath. Just inhale for a few seconds and exhale. Go ahead and take another one. I'm going to ask you right now to set the intention to go ahead and step into these 3 positive states in a moment to build a champion state of calm, curiosity, and confidence. Now, go ahead and go back to that time, that positive memory where you felt calm. Step into that moment as if you are actually there. That specific time when you felt calm. I want you to go ahead and see what you see. taking it all in, looking through your own eyes, creating this image in your mind of when you felt absolutely calm. I want you to go ahead and see everything that you're seeing now, taking it all in as if you were there and as intense as it was then. Just as intense as it was then. You might even hear what you were hearing. You might even feel in your body how you're feeling when you felt absolutely calm. And now I'm going to ask you to take your index finger and your thumb, and when you start to feel this intense feeling of calm, as you step back into this positive memory, I want you to go ahead and press your index finger and your thumb together and hold it for a few seconds right as you're feeling calm. And release it. Awesome. Then go ahead and do that one more time. Go ahead and step back into that moment you were feeling absolutely calm. Hear what you were hearing, see what you were seeing, just as intense as it was then. Take your thumb and your index finger, press them together, hold it as you feel intensely calm. And release. Let's do that one more time. Step back into that moment when you were feeling calm. See what you were seeing through your own eyes. Feel what you were feeling. Hear what you were hearing, just as intense as it was then. Take your thumb and your index finger together, really feeling calm. Hold it for a few seconds. And release. Awesome. Now, as you remain with your eyes closed, go ahead and take in another deep breath. And on your out breath, I want you to imagine, go back to the time when you felt really curious. Go back to that moment, that specific moment that you felt curious. And I want you to go ahead and, looking through your own eyes, see what you were seeing, feel what you were feeling, just as intense as it was then, being really curious. Go ahead and take your thumb and your index finger when you get to that peak of when you're feeling really curious, and hold it together as you feel so intensely curious in this moment now. Awesome. Go ahead and do that again. We'll go do a little bit faster this time. Go ahead and go back to this moment you were feeling really curious. Your subconscious mind already knows what's to do. It's already there probably. Back into that moment you were feeling really, really curious, just as intense as it was then. Feeling everything that you felt, hearing everything, seeing it all, taking it all in, just as intense as it was then. Take your thumb and your index finger, press them together, hold it as intensely as it was then, feeling really curious, and release. Awesome. All right, go ahead and take another deep breath in. You guys are doing great. And on your out breath this time, I want you to go back to that time where you're feeling really confident now. Step into that moment when you're feeling really confident. See what you were seeing, hear what you were hearing, feel everything that you were feeling in that moment of really being confident. And as you do that, go ahead and get into it as intensely as you were then. Take your thumb and your index finger together, press them together at the peak of when you are feeling really confident now. just as intense as it was then, holding your thumb and your index finger together, feeling really confident. Yeah, that's right, really confident. Stepping in that moment, just as intense as it was then, and release. All right, let's do that again because I love confidence. Let's go ahead and get back into that moment. You were feeling really confident, just as intense as it was then. See what you were seeing, hear what you were hearing, feel what you were feeling, just as intense as it was then. Really feeling confident, knowing that you can do this, that you got this. Take your thumb and your index finger together, press them together, just as intense as it was then, feeling really confident. Yes, really confident. There you are. Awesome. Hold it a little bit longer and really intense as it was then. Yes, and release. Let's go ahead and do that one more time, feeling really confident. Go ahead and step back into that moment. Man, your mind already knows how to do this, so let's get into it, feeling just as intense as it was then, really confident. Real confident, step into it as just as intense as it was then. Take your thumb, your index finger together, press them, just as intense as it was then, feeling really confident now, really confident, and release. Awesome, way to go. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So now what I want you to do is I want you to just sit there for a moment in this space as you continue to listen to my voice. Know that you have now programmed your mind to step into these 3 states whenever you want. You can immediately come into calm, curious, and confident whenever you want. Know that whenever you place your thumb and your index finger together, calm, curious, and confident is how you feel. Now, go ahead and take one last deep breath. And on your exhale, go ahead and open your eyes, come back into the room, refreshed and ready to continue. All right, now, this is pretty cool because you can do this, as I said, whenever you want. You can do this when you're starting to feel stressed. You can feel this whenever you want to feel these 3 states together, this calm, curious, confident feeling. You can set it off and immediately you start to feel your body shift. You'll start to see your mind shift. Now, if you feel like, you want to get it even more intense, you can absolutely do this process again and again and again. The key is to press your thumb and your index finger at the peak of when you're feeling each of those feelings. You can create different champion states for different situations, which is absolutely amazing. All right, so let's go ahead and recap really quick because I know we are over our time and I want to honor that. So let's recap the 3 ways to overcome stress that we talked about today. Number 1 is to identify your trigger pattern. Identify what that pattern is that sets you into stress. What happens first and then what happens next to get you into that stressed feeling or state. And then number 2, another way to do it is to know your outcome. Oftentimes we're thinking in the future focused, in the what ifs, and so we are not living in this moment, right? We're not knowing what it is that we want. We're too worried about the what ifs. So know what your outcome is. And then number 3, ignite your anchor. So ignite the anchor that we did today, the champion state to overcome stress, or any other anchor that you want to create. You can create a single anchor. You want to do it on a different finger. I'll tell you that for sure. So if you've done your thumb and your index finger before for a different anchor, you'll want to change it to do something different. And you can do any. You've got 10 fingers. You can combine them in any way that you want. You can even just press your knuckle. You can press your shoulder, something of that nature. There's different ways that you can do it. If you want some more ways to do it, then let me know. I'd love to send you some more info on that. All right, and then last but not least, you want to ignite your anchors, again, whenever you're feeling stressed or any other time, which is the fabulous thing about anchors. All right, so our quote to wrap this up: if you want to conquer the anxiety of life, Live in the moment, live in the breath. So breath is mindfulness. Living in the moment is mindfulness. Mindfulness is how we manage and overcome stress. So today we've identified 3 ways that you can start to take control of your stress. And we learned how to overcome it with these 3 ways, which all involve mindfulness, which is, again, becoming aware. We've just scratched the surface of starting to cultivate awareness and this power that we have within us. There's so much to learn about ourselves and living from a place of purpose and on purpose. This is definitely things that I teach my one-on-one clients in my Life on Purpose coaching program. We get to work through those patterns and beliefs and stressors that are holding us back from getting into that high vibration and really living life fully. So, as a special gift for those of you that are new here today, I would love to offer a special bonus to you. You see, I lived on autopilot for much of my life, as I said, and I've been through it. I've struggled with stress, with overwhelm, with people pleasing, with negative thoughts, with not, having clarity on what to do next. And so for that, if you are interested, I am offering a free 50-minute session to help you identify what is challenging you right now. Now, it might be a trigger that you're having, it might be stress, right? So what we can do is look at your stress patterns. We can look at one thing that you might be dealing with right now that is stressing you out. You can take a look at it and figure out what that trigger pattern is, and then shift it in a way that is going to serve you, that is empowering, right? There's so many beautiful, strategies that we have, but they're not powerful sometimes. And so I can show you how to shift that into a more powerful strategy that is going to serve you. It's pretty fun, actually. And just so you know, I'm not selling you anything. Actually, I really just want to help you. I want to help you live life on purpose. My mission is to help people learn to make choices that honor their best self. That's why I started consulting and coaching. That's why I do what I do. That's why I host these free webinars, is to teach people how to become their best self and really live life on their own terms. So I have opened up my calendar for the next few weeks. So if you would like to, chat with me for 50 minutes, it's a free session. It's virtual, so it'll be here on Zoom, just like this is. It'll be just you and I. We'll look through what is stopping you. The last time I offered this, actually I offered this a couple of times, and ladies absolutely love it. So I would love for you to have that opportunity as well. And then finally, just to let you know, if you're not part of the Empowered You community, come and join us, because it is a lot of fun. We have a lot of events that are coming up in the next couple of months. We're on Facebook. It's absolutely free. There's some events that I'll be doing inside the Facebook group and then in the coming months, and there's also some events that I'll be doing outside, for the group, but in person here locally. So if you're local to Pasadena area, I'll be doing a new morning meditation series in person in South Pasadena, in nature, in the park. On Tuesday mornings. It'll actually be every Tuesday in December at 8:30 a.m. So if you want more information on that, you can go to thepeaceteacher.com/workshops. The next virtual event that we'll be doing, which will be just like this, another masterclass, will be on December 12th, again, same time at 12:30. But all of that is on the website, so you can go to thepeaceteacher.com and find out about all the upcoming workshops, or come join the Empowered You community on Facebook, and you can learn all about the events coming up there as well. I have all kinds of things coming up in the next couple of months, which are great. And finally, I also, if you did RSVP through Eventbrite, I will be sending out this replay, so you will get the replay, and you'll also get a gratitude and meditation download for you guys, just for registering for the class. So hope you enjoy that. So look out for that coming in your inbox either later tonight or tomorrow. Just depends on how fast I can download the recording of this. And then finally, thank you. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. Thank you for spending time with yourself and learning these 3 tips for overcoming stress. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. You can send me an email, or you can, respond to, actually find me on Facebook or Instagram, message me there. It's another great place to message me. I'm pretty active over on Instagram. Thank you so much for coming. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and you were able to get some, I'm hoping, some value out of today. That is my goal. That is my intention for this masterclass. All right, so that is it for us today. Have a fantastic rest of your day. If you are interested in learning a little bit more about the bonus session and learning about your particular strategies and how to overcome them, then let me know. Visit me at peaceteacher.com/bonus call. I'd love to work with you. All right, that is it for us today. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Remember to be you and to be amazing. Bye.